Right, so this panel, to be very frank, we all of us together met for the very first time. So during a panel discussion, you have quite a lot of rehearsals and discussions and brainstorming. Nothing has happened, as a group. So whatever you will hear in the next 40 odd minutes is going to be quite, impromptu. So we'll have to put our best foot forward and do quite a lot of improvisation. The session that we are talking about is the future of data centers for the BFSI segment in India, right? Which is, and so we've been having quite a lot of discussions about digital innovations and technology in BFSI sector, right? We've been speaking about generative AI, we've been speaking about the privacy and security of data and all that. And having not discussed where all of that information stays would not be doing justice to the session that we have. Um, so this session is all about, the data centers, right? The actual place or somewhere in the cloud where all of your data is stored. And when I say all of your data, all of a customer data is stored, right? Before I started researching for this particular topic, my understanding about a data center is just a small, cold to hell kind of a place where you have a lot of blinking lights in an organization. And the other memory that I have about data center is Mr. Tom Cruise, who happens to be one of my most favorite actors after Shah Rukh Khan. He, in the Mission Impossible franchisee movies, actually always gets into a data center either to, hack the data center or actually plant a kind of a virus. But then when I started reading about data center, and I had to read because I have to sound smart on the panel, there's quite a lot to data center than what a general kind of population already knows, right? And this is what we are here to explore, what's happening in data center right now, what has actually happened in the data center, what the regulation looks like, and what is the future of data center, right? Let me start with a very light kind of a question, and if the panel can enlighten the audience about what exactly, apart from the Tom Cruise movies and the data center that you see in movies, what exactly a data center looks like, and where would you find a data center if not in your organization?
So let me make it super, super light for you. And a few people who have been in IT for even 1 year would kind of relate, or maybe not 1 year, let's say anybody who is 7 years plus would be able to relate to this. When I started my career in 2004, I joined as an engineer for a company which every typical IT guy would join. There was a server room next to my seat. So I was sitting just outside the server room, one seat, and every day my manager would call me from head office, and he was almost 50 at that time, and I was 22. बेटा एक काम कर, दरवाजा खोल, अंदर चेक कर, लाइटें जल रही है नहीं जल रही. So that was the data center of that time. And then one day, maybe after a month, he called me up. Oh, परसों सफाई हुई थी. मैंने कहा सर ऑफिस बॉय छुट्टी पे है. Okay, what? एक काम कर बेटा, कपड़ा लेके जा, थोड़ा मार दे क्योंकि परफॉर्मेंस लो हो गई है. So maybe dust is accommodated. So that was there. Then finally the company got bought by another company, and then finally a VC bought it, and they merged 3-4 companies together and moved our small server room to a bigger server room in Gurgaon. So I'm born and brought up in NCR, and I would not name the company, otherwise it would become little. Then I called him up. सर अभी कपड़ा कौन मारेगा? कहता टेंशन मत ले, बड़े रूम में कपड़ा मारने के लिए मैंने 2 इंजीनियर रखे. Cut to 5 years ahead, I became manager. I decided कि यार मेरे को इंजीनियर नहीं रखना है कपड़ा मारने के लिए. I moved my own servers in a co-located space with Tulip. Tulip used to be a big data center provider in Delhi NCR at that time. Unfortunately, the company does not exist anymore. So I had 2 engineers hired from Tulip for kapda marne ke liye. So that was step 2 of data center. Now you talk about cloud, you raise that word. I have my data center somewhere. It's just the same poor old server. मुझे ये नहीं पता वो सर्वर कहाँ है और मुझे ये नहीं पता उस पर कपड़ा कौन मार रहा है. So that's data center for you. So it started from a small server somewhere. The server capacity at that time today lies in my mobile phone. That was the capacity of the server where I started. So data center is just nothing. It's just some RAM, some storage, and some processor. You use it the way you want to use it. You could have companies who are using a small desktop. I know a couple of startups who would just use a desktop for a server. Today, a desktop would be far more powerful in capacity than maybe a server we still have today. I work for an oil and petroleum company. My servers were less powerful than the workstations which my geologists were using. And we had to move all those because those were far more expensive in our server room. And you said cold like hell. Still today we have engineers sitting in that hell. And at least that is what as leaders all of us can do. They are human beings here. That area is not fit to work. It's 18 degrees.
I always, kind of wonder what actually happens in a data center, right? And for me to actually get into a data center, I'll have to do an engineering, which I'm a little too late for it.
कभी भी हमारे ऑफिस में आ जाओ, हम लेके जाएंगे.
So I had this IT director come, engineer who always do the kapda inside the data center. I just keep asking him, "Andar hota kya hai?" And he's like, "Never ask me this question. Your future actually depends upon what's happening inside that room." I said, "Okay, it's fine." Dr. Rajendran, your view, sir.
Yeah, okay. In the age-old days, what these Kapada stories, okay, that keeping aside this one, but if you take those days, if you wanted to do computing, then the computer might be this half of this room size or the bigger one. That is a one, and it is mostly on a centralized processing. You have a thin client or just a dump terminals and connect it. There is a novel network that is a 3.2 or something 3x or your Unix servers those days. That was started. Then suddenly started doing a distributed computings. Then where we are heading towards now, all centralized things. Now again we will thinking about the distributed computing systems because the requirements are huge. So the landscape has been changed from first where we started, we are gone there, again we are going to the distributed mode now. Why? Because the needs are changing and everywhere now you are need for the computing, and if you take this room and this hotel, so many CCTV cameras are available. So start each camera can start your intelligence network. Each camera should be programmed to say the thing, its own works, its own way to activate whatever you build your rules. So you starting your computing from this way, the edge to anywhere now that is happening. And the data center for a namesake started in the server room to a big data centers, then again now a cloud, and many people get confused. If we say cloud only, it is said that only a public cloud. So not like that, even cloud, a technology wise and structure can be and put it on-prem also. So changed the lot of transformation in the cloud and all. So big organization have a own, and many starting startups are started with the cloud and going. So this is the way it is journey started, but important things everywhere now. People started talking about a data center because data becomes a very critical component in any business. So now that's why the importance has increased. Large organizations started building, even in Mumbai also lot of data centers are coming up, and this is the way our journey has been just come very forward now. I think that's what I can just tell you about what is current the landscape, how it is moving to the new need for the data centers.
Data, actually, as they say, data is the new gold, and we really need to protect the data, because it's not just anybody else's data but even our data, right? And that is exactly where the data is stored that needs to be protected. Of course, Dr. Rajendra, I'm going to come back to you again and again for quite a lot of questions about regulation, about sustainability, capacity building, cost to benefit, because you're the senior most on the panel right now with quite a lot of relevant experience in building and maintaining data centers. I'll just quickly go to Kanika if she has any opening thoughts.
Yeah, I think, see, I will not touch upon the transformation of how we have evolved from back kapra lagana to now. So now, I think at least for next 30, 40 minutes, we are going to talk about that kapra lagana. But one thing is for sure that the world has definitely moved big time. However, there are apprehensions people have in their head when they think of, even if I talk very simply of moving from on-prem to cloud. There's a lot of discussions happen on whether it's cost effective, whether it's secure, whether should we have it, should we, as Dr. Rajendra rightly said, like people still think of when cloud as a public cloud majorly and don't understand that how we can be secure, we can have our private clouds and so on. So there is a transformation happening in terms of the actual technology, as well as I would say in terms of the mindset that people carry, the belief system that people carry, and how that's also molding over the time, especially more relevant in BFSI sector where we have so much regulations and people always are very cautious of what they are doing and how secure those systems are going to be.
Thank you so much, Kanika. I think for the rest of this session, I'm going to keep the questions very generic instead of asking a specific question to a specific speaker, because I've seen without me, they've actually rehearsed really well as to how the answers should be to each of the questions. I'm going to ask about regulation, and everything is something that I really interested as to what the regulator is doing. But that is the other side of this session. Kunal, I wanted to ask and start asking you about the future trends. Is everything being explored in the technology which is related to data centers, or there is still needs to be explored? Or the other question that any of the panel members would tell me is India doing enough for the technology in data center, and if countries outside of India have done better than us?
So you have asked me 4 questions in one. So let's take the last question. Is India doing enough in terms of our data centers? Honest opinion, no. There is a lot that India needs to do. Has world done enough? Honest opinion, yes or no. So globally there is a big need of having good quality data centers, and the reason India is little further behind from few developed countries is our geopolitical situation and our policies, the way it is governed. Still you can't sell power from Maharashtra to Gujarat. So power distributions is a big need for any data center. Imagine how much power do we need in our house, and multiply it to almost 1 million times if you need to run a sizable data center. We feel 2000 houses in a society in Delhi NCR, it's very common. Go to Gurgaon, 2000 flat, 2500 flat, bhi hoga. But in a data center, in just this amount of space, you could have 4000 servers eating up that much power, and multiply it to 100 and 200 customers of theirs when it is a co-located space. So power is a big need. So India need to make huge investments in power. Second need for data centers would be, now imagine it's a co-location data center. I'm talking about co-located data centers right now. Data would have to traverse from the customer to the center where the data center is, the servers and the machines. Our infrastructure still is not there. Even we have the cheapest possible links across globe. You come to India, mobile calling is almost free. Pay 500 rupees a month, call anyone or everyone, or be on call, leave it and forget about it. Outside India, 10 minutes, $10 gone. Whereas on this capacity, which is the links, the fibers, India has catching up. in last 10 years, you would have fiber connectivity almost going to every village, but the capacity that is still there needs to be still further processed on and worked upon. One step ahead, what needs to go inside the data center? India need to make lots of investments, and this is maybe to all of us as leaders. We need to go and tell our people who are working with us and also guys, students who are in colleges, that cloud is there, it's no more future. Today, it's not about only cloud. 5 years back, anybody who is getting certified would say, I'll get certified on Azure, AWS, GCP, and I would get a job. It's no more the case. People have started realizing there is a huge difference of cost for a company which is born on cloud and a traditional business. And if you're a traditional business like BFSI, if you are an NBFC or a neobank, you could still be born on cloud. But if you're a traditional bank, regulated entity, it would be mixed of everything. Regulators want certain data to be in Indian boundaries. And in that, if you have data or any system which does not need elasticity, let's say pure play, now HRMS is typically outsourced in a SaaS service, but imagine HRMS is not something where you need huge elasticity. Or any other system which is, you know, your customers are just fixed. शाम को ही transaction होगा, एक बार invoicing होगा, it would be a clearance. It's not your public facing app. Do you need it to be on public cloud? Again, Kanika said, you need to just imagine, cloud is cloud, but it's not public only. You have other options. Look at other options. And we need to coach our teams that people who are managing data centers and on-prem infrastructure are as important as the engineers who are managing cloud. If everybody says, I can only manage public cloud, guess what would happen? People would only get comfortable to GUIs and they will not be able to manage other portion of it. And that would create complexity. India need to look back, go back, because that's one trend I have seen in last 7-8 years, that everybody thinks public cloud is the way. It's not. And we are not investing back in the basics.
Thank you so much. You mentioned a couple of things like power and energy and the requirement of energy to run a data center. We're going to come back to that question because it has a direct impact on the sustainability side of it, the cost to benefit side of it. But sir, I look up to you for this particular question for somebody who's actually set up data centers. If you're comfortable sharing, your journey with the team and what challenges you've seen, where are we in terms of the data center implementation today, and what does the future look like for India?
Thank you. Just my journey, if you wanted to tell, I connected all your institutions. I touched up all the connectivity, all network players here. I seen from the BSNL and MTNL days too, and the entire blueprint of most of the network providers. I know ins and out where it is there. And I think we have been doing good over the period of time in terms of both the connectivity, because if your data center does not stop only having a physical structures. You have a connectivity and you are able to do the transaction through end to end without any problem. Then only you are completing your task. Okay, that is lot of improvement happens, and because I know I used to connect on the satellite full transponder in SAT-3C. We used to use the things and connect a Salboni in West Bengal and near Mysore. Then there is our Note Mudran institutions to connect each other even for connecting to video also I used to do, because those times it's a very high cost for the satellite bandwidth. Then now it is improved. Your fiber, your house you are getting 300 Mbps, 100 Mbps, 1000 Mbps you are getting in your office, your mobile you are able to get it. So, because one of the journey which I wanted to share the things that UPI, I designed that UPI. When I designed one of the ask was, the problem given was that time the growth of smartphones are growing rapidly. How to make use of this smartphones growth? That is only the question asked by a renowned industrialist to me and my teams. Then we started working the discussion, and I was been doing design for so many years on the network design. If you take it up, any transaction you do, that network is designed and built by myself only, and the platforms also all integrated. I know all the ins and outs where it is connected and everything and all. So that way, if we see the things that now if we see UPI, why we could able to deliver it, if the digital transformation how to be happen, the structure, underlying infrastructure, your connectivity, then your computing environment, and to make up that one, the power have to be available. If these three things are there, then we are in successful. Then all these things, whatever we are doing a billion transaction, even if you go to in Bombay, you can do in many places. Go to a small cart person, you have fruit vendor or even chai, or you wanted to have the what is that peanuts or whatever thing who was selling. Even you can vegetable vendor, you can just pay even 20 rupees, 10 rupees. Just even we don't have anything, just only a QR code, and even a smartphone is sufficient or not required. Even they give a sound box to even get a receiving and notifications. So that way we have transformed, but still it is not enough. We need to grow, and the capacity on data centers. In some places, it is available extra. At least I have seen 3-4 years, so many vertical buildings built only for a data center, not yet utilized. That is one side of the stories. In some places, there is a crunch, and people wanted to do it. So why this kind of issues are happening? It is there are the things, the connectivity. If you wanted to do your website have to be very good, and you should not have any problem in the connectivity to the data center. That's why people look for where you have the good connectivities, then they are trying to establish it. And except the eastern regions, we have very typical terrains in starting from Orissa, West Bengal, and all these northeastern regions. In the everybody service provider network, a big round is there. It's not connected. I think that is getting improved now. Maybe last 2-3 years it is getting improved. That is one thing we need to penetrate it. So to shorten this answer, are we doing enough? Yes, we are doing, but we need to do ramp up the further. And the power is, I will go to the next question, the sustainability kind of things. We are building an EV vehicles. How we are building an EV vehicles if you don't have an infrastructure? If any product have to be successful, you might having how you are going to deliver that product to your last mile customer. Why this UPI is successful? We heard that a network connecting to 2000 plus banks and financial institutions already connected to all their data centers. Then only what they need to do, they do a customization just in the CBS and then connect it, and they already connected to an NPCI data centers. Then they can launch. Like that, if you see that one, nobody will know that still you are able to do the check processing. You give what is happening background, you may not be knowing. So very, very efficient and never down. I have never seen the things that network down or systems down on the things. And similarly, if you are transaction, if you take an UPI, 4-leg transactions. Yes, say take an example, a Google Pay, and merchant could be an WhatsApp Pay, then banker of the Google Pay could be an SBI, for example I am taking, and WhatsApp could be a banker could be an ICICI. To conducting all 4 and transaction have to be happen, the maximum time is the 20 seconds. It is happening even less than 1 second. and millions or billions of transactions now happening. So that's why we have grown, we need to improve it. Maybe just one more question he has asked about a regulator you have asked. There are the cloud, a private cloud, then your on-prem cloud, or your own data center. Depends upon the business viabilities and your future plans, you can do whatever you want to do, have it. Okay. Then what is the difference between the, why people build in private cloud? See what will happen, if you dedicate a resource for a particular purpose, then suppose if you run a business, if suppose you are a brokerage company, then they only do for a security trading means up to 330. After that, the servers are ideal. Okay. And if you take some other company, a media company, maybe daytime may not be very huge topic, but night they might be do all OTT, lot of things will come and will be a huge things. So, if you take corporate could be a backup, or they might be processing something else like that. So, the ideal resources, how to make use. That's why a cloud comes. The resources are augmented and resources are distributed on demand. That is one. Second thing is, when you wanted to have that time scale up and scale in. Scale out is whenever application demands, then all resources are automatically assigned. That is one way. And you spin out multiple instances also. And when it is not required, then spin up the instance and bring it to an original thing. So these are the things why a private cloud people build it. Just wanted to clarify that thing because the public and private cloud things. But if you do a public cloud, yes, immediately you can start a business. So you have no regulator is stopping going to any cloud-based systems. But every regulator has their own prescribed requirements, then the provider have to meet, and it cannot left to a provider. Okay, the provider gives, I am conforming to yes the regulators, not like that. The user have to confirm the thing. Yes, he will able to get it done. One simple example: when a regulator comes and audit in your premises, what kind of things they will able to do it. The same way they will also wanted to your provider, how the access to regulator to the provider also to be made available. So that way only, so you need to have this compliance requirement. Then if you are meeting the compliance requirement, if you are able to protect your data, if you are able to give a comfort that yes, your data is protected, your business is protected, your services are protected, and you can choose whatever the provider you wanted to have it. I think with that I just...
Thank you so much. That was like a masterclass on data centers, and we could just hear you for hours. Moving onwards, of course, we've established at least that there is quite a lot of things still needs to be done. When we talk about data centers, there is quite a lot of opportunities that we have. We have established that India hasn't done enough, but there is, of course, there is a lot of opportunity because we have like, your gigabytes or terabytes of data and all of that. All of these things that I've just heard this morning. My understanding of data was only limited to a terabyte, but then there is gigabyte and whatever available. So there is a good future for the data centers in India and globally. Let us speak a little bit about, with the entire panel, a little bit about the challenges that we are currently facing, and let's focus on what challenges we are facing in India currently. One of that, and of course, Kanika was very passionate to answer this question about when we talk about a machine, we are usually referring to a machine's capability by an uptime or a downtime, right? The more the uptime you have, the better the machine is supposed to be, kind of working. Now, there is no machine which has at least I don't know any machine that has a 100% uptime. So we also talk about the downtime and what are the repercussions of, having a downtime to the system. Kanika, because you also are passionate about generative AI, do we already have any Gen AI model that can predict a downtime based on certain inputs and can actually kind of avoid that kind of a downtime? Or are you saying, or the other panel members are saying that a downtime is completely unavoidable?
See, the AI I would say is because you, so right, what is happening, the evolution that we're talking about, right? And first of all, today I'm going to break the biggest norm of the world that girls are more talkative. I'll let the two gentlemen speak more. But nonetheless, to answer your question, the AI is going to help if you're using it rightfully. So for example, in the downtime thing that you just asked, it's more of, how much predictive analytics you can use there. And if you can assess that, I don't need a scheduled maintenance, rather I would know that, when is a timeline wherein I need to maintain it, I need to get it done. It's just done, and you are much better off in terms of downtime. I can't zero down the downtime because I think it's a little far-fetched, not as of today. But we are definitely going there. 99.9% is like very much common. This and Dr. Jindra and Kunal can add to that. But just briefly answering, yes. How much we use it and how we use it would speak a lot on that.
So we still have these kind of models which are being in structure. What is a good ratio of an uptime for a data center?
100%?
100% would be the best, and
No, 100%.
Okay.
That's the ask. Imagine, would you expect suddenly you're watching a web series and for 1 minute your Netflix says, sorry, my data center is down. Or you want to do a financial transaction and suddenly I give you a pop-up, sorry, for 30 seconds I'm going through a maintenance. No, right? So this is the end consumer's ask. The ask is to be available 100%. Can a machine be 100% uptime? No. But can an environment be 100% uptime? Yes. So the ask is to keep the environment 100% uptime, build your resiliencies around it. Data center providers would typically sign a contract with us as consumers of 99% dot some number based on, again, the financial negotiations. But ultimately, we have to design a service which is 100% available to our customer. And that's the bottom line. There is no question asked about it.
Yeah, but I think, see, one of the thing, just coming back to your previous question, I think the evolution of the data centers and the need of it in the future in India especially, I think there's a big gap. If you compare it to the world, there are countries which are actually encouraging these data centers, providing all the required infra. And you would see many companies in India, the small companies who have their data centers outside India, the infra outside India, and they're trying to address the Indian customers. But of course, there are bills, DPDP, and so on, wherein they ask you to have the data centers in India. So there are a lot of complications. And more than the bigger companies, I think it impacts the startup ecosystem, which government is trying to promote. But I think this is the big piece. If you would ask many startups, one of the biggest piece where they spend a lot of their budgets and a lot of their money is the infra, is the data center or cloud or whatever you can call it. But this is the biggest spend. One of the biggest spend, I would say, apart from maybe marketing.
So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that's where I see that a huge opportunity, but opportunity with the challenges that we just talked about in terms of power, infra, geopolitical system. Those needs to be big time addressed. I really see that this is like one of the key thing to be addressed, what we are looking at as a future of India in terms of employment, startups, and so on.
To just add the global perspective, lot of global companies coming here building data center for them, and they are operating also. Because of the cost and other things, they choose to come here. So that means we are getting an improved. Then going back to what Kanika was telling about an AI. So then Kunal has said in the beginning, the light whether it is there yellow, orange. This light are now transmitted into data. So getting in integrated so that you will get a predictions before that things, okay, this is a orange come, then that means this is the going to down, then you take a precaution. So these are the things that you can do a lot more integration in terms of the security. You starting from entering from gate to your accessing server to all those things can be an integrated, one for a physical security, second for the your even logical securities also. So lot more things can be done. Whatever things are the all security companies, all the logs and everything getting transmitted and started doing the work. So that way I think this, so now AI is used everywhere. In data center also, you can integrate all the IoTs whichever deployed, then you can do the your cameras can be integrated, and then you can create a lot of predictive and the feature requirement for a monitoring the data center itself. So that way I think this is the all technologies can be deployed in the data center environment. And the sustainability, that's why they say PUE rate, how much you have the infrastructure to make a cooling of the system, or how much that heat generated by the computing environment. What is this ratio? How efficiently you are using, that is one. And another thing is what kind of cooling systems you use or other alternative resources to power in.
I think, yeah, I agree to Dr. Jindra, and there's a lot of need in the sustainability space, power as we are talking about, a lot of renewable energy that we should be using. I think virtualization is something that's happening already in the data center space, but this piece I think everybody is trying to harp on since the beginning of this panel discussion is the importance that the availability of power and then the sustainability of it.
We have one more panel. Puneet has joined in. So before we speak more into sustainability and the cost to benefit kind of a ratio, can we have her on the panel, please?
Thank you. Sorry, Mumbai traffic is so unpredictable. Took me 1.5 hours to reach. My apologies for joining in late, sorry.
So that's a full panel for you this evening. We were just, Puneet, what we were discussing about is, of course, everything around data centers, right? We were talking about how the data centers have actually evolved over a period of a few years, and what does the future of data centers actually look like. We've also discussed a few challenges in terms of, and we want to want you to start with discussing as to what are the other challenges in terms of the scalability. So if I were to scale my setup of data centers, of course, the first challenge that would come is the investment side of it. So the first thing is the business has to take a decision whether they would invest in the data center or not. And then the other challenges that would come would also be from the environmental side of it and the cost of benefit kind of a ratio side of it. So your thoughts on the current challenges of data centers?
So thanks for that question. So two aspects to it. Further, we need to understand that what is our journey basically. If an organization has taken its leapfrog in terms of moving on to data centers on cloud basically, so it's an all cloud model. Now, dependency on companies like us, which has a monolithic architecture plus the front end is peripheral applications, is more of cloud native or SaaS model. Should we decide what we need to cater for the business? As the demand gets raised, then what we do basically, we understand the ecosystem and a perfection of fitment for an application which is readily available in the market to cater to that particular process. Now, when we say that a particular application or process that needs to be automated, we take a call, this is supposing in our case, peripheral applications like partners portals, like, portals, the ecosystem for portal or the OEM from general insurance perspective. So that plays a very big role. But now it is a system like where we have to make either a B2B impact or B2B2C or B2C impact directly. Different from channel diversification that we have, the line of business that we want to cater for. Secondly, the ease of doing business. Now, ease of doing business is that I have my entire ecosystem of the policy admin system at the back end, which has a monopoly in nature because I have to have a dependency. I'm not a core implementer in building my own PaaS system. It's an ocean in itself. So I have a dependency on them. Now, if I take a application which is more of a no, not ready on cloud, but then a co-location model on data center, which is probably on cloud or an on-prem model, but stitching the gaps as a part of decoupling layer in between middlewares and all, and talking all core application in the front end on the cloud, then probably it makes a very beautiful case scenario for me. So that call probably we will have to take from technology angle. As a CIO and CTO, you need to do that along with the business enablement. Second is, what is your business line? What is the projections? What is the capacity in terms of, we need to take a call in case like we need to have a quote issuance only. Like we work very closely with web aggregators. Now we will talk about companies like Policy Bazaar or any other web aggregator, not to name 5 or 6 of them. We can be under 5, probably in the competition space. Now we want to say, does every quote hit that comes to you gets converted into a quote or not, right? So that call we have to take. Now that is something which we need to talk to the business team, that you need to do, that every time when the hits come on, then it's a bleeding point for us. Not necessarily every hit gets converted into a quote, right? So that is also one of the other. So there are various ways in which a business promising attitude has to come, where they say, that is my projection, this is my capacity, these is my concurrent sessions, and I need to have a code generation into a nanoseconds kind of from, because on the agent feed on street, they would not feel. They will, if they see there is a lag, they will move to the competition. So all those parameters help us to build our capacities and a readiness of our data centers. Whatever way we want to build, in-house, co-located, such a way the DR planning also happens. So in that case, these things really matter for us.
And also
So just to add it to a simple one-liner decision making here. So you might be seeing an ad, chief food officer. Okay, I think it's your favorite arts coming in. And just in lighter note, I used to tell my son that anything else you ask chief CFO. I just tell a CFO. Okay, so because in house somebody has CFO to decide what is wanted to have it. In organization you have a CFO. Okay, it is completely depend on how the CFO take the decisions. Okay, to whether it is you wanted to go to an OPEX model or you want to go to a CAPEX model. Because data center is for your 20 years, 50 years. If we build a data center, we need to see the 100 years what is the climate, weather and everything, then build the things. And that building should be sustained, can utilize for a 30 to 40 years, and your electrical equipment can be used for 15 to 20 years, DG sets and other things and all. So that's why you need to ask your CFO how to decide what is your capability of the company to spend in what way, how you generate a revenue, or how do you create a surplus to invest on the data center. That is will drive the decision making on you own or outsource.
Yes, but that also gets added where technology really plays a big role along with business. So you really have to give in a sort of an in-depth analysis that why do you want to take articulating these are my permutation combination in terms of giving you the infrastructure. Now, if I say that I want to build all cloud, then cloud, that it's just not about cloud. It's then different availability zones, understanding do we really need a DR or not in place, right? Then apart from that, how a CIO should not get bled by a CFO in question, you took everything on cloud. So there are areas where you have to work on various as a monitoring tool. Something like on cloud, we want to optimize that what are services that we are using. So it's a recurrent and evolving basically journey for you. It's just not that sara ghar ke badal dunga. No, it cannot happen overnight. It's a lot of work that and efforts goes in terms of an auto scaling mandate, spinning at point of optimizing, scaling, upscaling, downscaling, festive season catering, probably some articulation that we want to do. We really need all environments over the weekend or not? Dev, pre-production, we don't need it, real time. Do we need a post office or these kind of environment, which is because utilization and then probably on demand basis. Services can be kept on a shutdown mode, as in when required can be scaled up and scaled down. So these are some efforts that needs to go. But when you talk about something an on-premise database, that is first time capex, but definitely after that it is all opex only, because everything, light, lamp, everything is burning, right? And to manage that, there is a whole lot of skill set that is required. Server administrators, on-prem, you need data archivers, you need this, you need that, everything. So everything has their pros and cons. So that case, as a business case, a CIO has to present in the boardroom to understand why we want to opt for this case. And that should be getting justified.
I think I completely agree with Puneet, because especially, when you are setting up something completely new, this is the first question in your head, that whether you should leverage your existing on-prem servers or you should go for cloud, what cost it would be impacting. And precisely, I think you just said word by word, Puneet, what I wanted to talk about is that, it a lot depends upon the pros and cons of each. If you are probably considering your dev servers in cloud, would make more sense because it's completely shut off after office hours and weekends and holidays. Why would I, spend my energy there? So yeah, but there are benefits when it comes to on-prem. So just want to emphasize what you just said, and it's a pain point. It's a beautiful thing as well when you talk about.
Thank you so much. We would have loved to have you from the beginning of this session. You bring an amazing energy to the panel. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time, so I've just borrowed 5 more minutes for a couple of Q&A for the audience. From the audience side, do you have any questions for the experts? And I'm not the expert, I'm just the messenger. Any questions for any of the panel members today?
I see somebody raising hand. That's it.
We have a question at the end. Can we give the gentleman a mic? We have a mic at...
नहीं है. And there is a question on that side.
So do you mind coming ahead and asking your question? I don't want you to be shouting from the back.
Yeah, we can get this one.
Thank you, Mr. Amit. I am Siddharth. I am founder of a company called Notify Visitors, and we work with a lot of BFSI clients. And it's a very interesting discussion you had about on-prem versus private versus public cloud. And I deal with CTOs and organizations where this question often comes up, that whether it should, because we deal in customer data and customer analytics and personalizing experience basis that. So, Kanika, I would like to ask you, since you would be evaluating more as a chief digital officer, such platforms. So, what has been, the process that you have taken on-prem, cloud, and, what is the right approach that you would recommend to organizations?
I think because you asked very specific questions, Siddharth, on what you are doing. So one disclosure here, Siddharth has been my vendor partner since many years in my previous organizations as well. And so why don't I do this, Siddharth? I backthrow this question to you. And why don't you answer how we did it, how we handled it? I think it would be better for the audience. Do you want to answer?
Okay, thank you, Kanika. So what we have found as a middle ground, and we have SaaS deployments where it's completely on Indian cloud, but we have found a middle way where we have put the database hosted on premises of banks and BFSI clients, and we have our application on the cloud. And then we connect both. So in that sense, data is always on the owned cloud or private cloud or on premises. At the same time, application is on the cloud, which means agility and improvement can happen at a very fast pace compared to having the entirely on-prem solution. So yeah, that's what we have kind of seen. And Mr. Rajendra, if you or anyone else has...
I just want to add what Siddharth just said. So one of the major concerns that we had when we were implementing solution with, for example, Siddharth, or for any that matter, many such solutions, is that on one side you want to avoid any latency and you want to have the real-time customer notifications and talking points. At the same time, you are concerned about the PII data which you cannot share with beyond your ecosystem. So that's a major challenge, and I think you answered it very rightly, Siddharth. So I've worked with Notify on that and many other vendors wherein this is a common wherein we leverage their ecosystem and our ecosystem to come up with a solution where without sharing the data, we are using the entire real-time ecosystem. We are creating that real-time ecosystem. So thanks.
Added to
I
that,
can-
when we talk about PII data, so
Yeah.
we do make a sensitive information that a segregation could be in terms of sensitive information and non-sensitive information. So when we talk about non-sensitive information, it can be fully encrypted. But when we talk about sensitive information, that can be taken a ground in terms of, because at times customer have their bank details, their value, basically their visa, their card details and all that stuff. So much so, even for health records and all, like, so many things are there. So that sensitive information is not necessarily, that can be also a part of PII. So PII also has two sets of things. It's not that entire ecosystem of 360-degree is a PII.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
that's what we have done in our system, wherein we segregate this data very clearly and, structure it in a way that the ownership of data and what data is going out, coming in, completely goes within the organization, and there is that comfort. And it's as per SEBI compliance and, new regulations which are coming up, because 10 years back when I started, there was no cloud policy. Nobody knew what is there. You could just give a script and it will start working. But of late, with increased awareness, now it's not just cloud, it is cyber secure and etc. And you rightly mentioned, these are some of the things which are being very closely monitored and worked on as
If you have a concept of middleware, then definitely you can decouple it with a decoupling layer. And basis that, you can create your master on delta lakes, which can give you data service smart, catering to this. So then overall ecosystem of engines would not get disturbed. As in when you want to scale up and scale down, that can handle.
Absolutely, man.
I think that's what we did, right? So yeah, but you rightly said, Puneet. So
Thank you so much, Siddharth, for asking and responding to the question.
There was a question on that side. There was a
We
question.
have, can we take one more question, one last question, please?
Hi, so I was overall hearing the conversation and it's more about being on-prem and cloud. I just wanted to ask a different question that when we're actually evaluating this, back of the mind, is there a thought about carbon footprint as well? And the net zero carbon footprint, how are you moving towards that? And whether, briefly it was mentioned as sustainable power. That I do understand, but in the thought process on when you're evaluating, how does this actually come into that decision making process?
Let me answer this. And in a very, very straightforward nutshell, and it may sound little odd to an extent. We talk about net zero. You need a data center. First thing, data center needs what? Brickwork, concrete. Can the concreting factory be net zero? Net zero actually starts there. Then you need power, which is the basic need. So दीवार, पावर, सो हम आईटी वाले बोलते हैं हमको नेटवर्क दे दो, दीवार दे दो और पावर दे दो, हम दुनिया चला देंगे. तीनों चीज़ों में कोई भी नेट जीरो नहीं हो सकता. The only thing that we can do net zero is running off that building, and that too to a very high extent. If you have to make it net zero, the amount of investment that it needs is not TCO correct. I can tell you my operation of my RBL bank could be net zero, but that whole campus being net zero, the amount of investment my data center provider would need to do would be a 50 years return. Now, whether he is ready to take that 50 years return or not, I don't know. Public clouds, they say we are net zero, but they are still located in the data centers where we were. So, I don't know. So, net zero is a good need of the hour, but net zero for India would only be possible when we look at our power generation completely differently.
Where is that carbon footprint part coming in the thought process when you're making a decisions overall? I'm saying.
Now, it has been decided globally that we need to reduce carbon footprint. It has already been a board prerogative for very long. It has already been an IT initiative. At least I can tell you about me, my friends, and the generation I belong to. Last 7-8 years, all of us are making enough attempts towards ESGs. All of us, individually, all leaders are making enough attempts. Whether those attempts are sufficient, that's questionable. Somebody would say yes, and somebody would say no.
It is an alchemy that we need yet to achieve, actually. And I think so the time should be for achieving this basically milestone. Unless we don't have our own substation, which is solar paneled and all that stuff, we cannot achieve. Very difficult. So everybody has to become an equal contributor to this.
And we'll have to switch to renewable energy sources, as I was talking few minutes back.
No.
That's the only way, because power is the need. Whatever we talk about, net zero is far-fetched idea. I think one thing I want to say is,
And renewable is not net zero.
yes.
Generation of renewable needs something which is not net zero.
Okay.
You have to go back to grassroots, look at basic.
I just want to say, because Dr. Jindra mentioned on stage and off stage also that, you know, he has been one behind when the UPI was launched. So I just want to thank you, say thanks to him on the public forum, because thank you, because you have made me walletless. that really helps whenever I want to have a chart and I'm not carrying my wallet.
Yeah,
So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think there is a question which the gentleman behind, he has raised his hand first.
Couple of questions, but the exhibitors are telling me they're just like, we're already 10 minutes over time. What we can do is, if the speakers don't mind, we can just stick around, and if you want to ask the questions on and offline. Can we do one question, please? Just one, okay, strictly one question, because you're insisting.
Okay, so hi, this is Munesh Ahuja. So is it a good time to invest in data center stocks?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Hell yes.
and if you want to give some recommendations, we can take that thing offline. So that was the only
Put
question.
in any of them.
Yeah,
You will make money.
Disclaimer, I cannot give any suggestion for an investment.
Quick question and a very, very quick answer to it. As I was telling the audience in the beginning that this panel never rehearsed about this particular topic. I think we should have more impromptu and improv kind of panel discussions going forward. But lovely speaking to you. Good energy, good exchange of ideas. When I started researching, as I was saying, about data centers, it was quite an alien as a concept. But next time, if I am asked to speak about data center, let alone ask question, I would be in a much better space. But thank you so much for coming in.
I will just add to reply to this that yes, if you are from outside India, you want to invest in outside stocks, no. But people outside the globe, within India, enough of scope. That's the right time to invest and right time to reap the benefits.
24 hours,
shining.
29 minutes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, audience.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.